I look beautiful, don't I? Every day, every day. Hidden cruelty in child rearing and the roots of violence. Hidden cruelty in child rearing and the roots of violence. Hidden cruelty in child rearing and the roots of violence. Child cruelty and the root of violence. It's interesting. Let's read this passage about corporal punishment on children. You know, the convention that parents are always right and that every act of cruelty, whether conscious or unconscious, is an expression of their love is so deeply rooted in human beings because it is based on the process of internalization that takes place during the first months of his or her life. In other words, during the period preceding separation from the primary caregiver. Two passages from Dr. Schreber's advice to parents, written in 1858, will illustrate the method of raising children prevalent at the time. In 1858, here are the messages of instructions on how to raise children. Obviously, it's here in the nation, right? The little one's displays of temper, as indicated by screaming or crying without cause, should be regarded as the first test of your spiritual and pedagogical. I didn't mean to look up that word, pedagogical principles, because they're going to use it a lot. Once you have established that nothing is really wrong with the child is not ill, distressed, or in pain, then you can rest assured that the screaming is nothing more than an outburst of temper, a whim, the first appearance of willfulness. Now, you should no longer simply wait for it to pass as you did in the beginning, but should proceed in a somewhat more positive way by quickly diverting its attention by stern words, threatening gestures. Get your ass down here. Sit your ass. Take out the garbage. No, we're talking about toddlers, so we haven't met to the adolescent stages yet. So we're still on a toddler stage. So they're saying, now you should no longer simply wait for it to pass as you did in the beginning, but should proceed in a somewhat more positive way by quickly diverting its attention by stern words. Get your ass over here. Threatening gestures, rapping on the bed, whatever that means, or if none of this helps, by appropriately mild corporal admonitions, okay, repeated persistently at brief intervals until the child quiets down or fall asleep. So if your threatening looks or your gestures don't work for your child, then this book is saying for you to conduct corporal punishment until they are asleep, until they quiet down or go to sleep. So in 1858, they're telling you how to raise children. based on these corporal punishment ideals. This procedure will be necessary only once or at most twice, and then you will be master of the child forever. Master of the child forever. Remember that we're raising human beings to be adults. Okay, let's keep that in mind. We're raising children to be adults. And here they're predicating abuse with corporal punishment on toddlers. From now on, a glance, a word, a single threatening gesture will be sufficient to control the child. To control the child. You have to control a child by physically dismantling the child. Doesn't that say something about society? That in order for you to get a child's attention, that you have to physically abuse the child to get its attention, to have control over the child. Let's think about that. It's a being that we are raising to be an adult one day. Okay, so where were we? Remember that this will be of the greatest benefit to your child, since it will spare him many hours of agitation amicable to his successful growth, freeing him from all those inner torments that can, moreover, very easily lead to a proliferation of pernicious character traits that will become increasingly difficult to conquer. Where are they getting this from? How can they perceive and project a child's life from toddler stage, just from toddler stage? They're telling you to beat your kids early, right? So you can keep them in check, right? Don't that sound familiar? I'm only going to read a little bit of this until I get to where I want to stop, and I'll do something else. Dr. Schreiber doesn't realize Dr. Schreiber is like a friend of Sigmund Freud. You know, Sigmund Freud is the father of um, taking morphine and building psychiatry or psychology. He's the father of psychology, but he was high on morphine, right? So he's reading from his colleague's book, Dr. Schreiber, when he wrote like different editions of child rearing and childbearing. So we're just reading like an insert from his friend, you know what I'm saying? The other guy that was high on morphine, you know what I'm saying? Okay. So they're giving us instructions in 1858 on how to raise your children, right? If parents are consistent in this, they will soon be rewarded by the emergence of that desirable situation in which the child will be controlled almost entirely by a parental glance alone. Don't y'all know that? How many of y'all parents just gave y'all a glance and y'all know to sit the fuck down because you know what comes if I keep glancing at you, and it's not going to be any talking and any words. That has come from the father of being high on morphine, an elitist in the United States of America. Dr. Schreiber has wrote and designed books on child rearing and child beating. And I feel like most of the nation has followed this very model of what he's talking about, right? Okay. Children raised in this way frequently do not notice, even at an advanced age, when someone is taking advantage of them. Wait, listen. Children raised in this way frequently, now we're talking about children who's been beat, basically, do not notice, even at an advanced age, when someone is taking advantage of them, as long as the person uses a friendly tone of voice. I don't know. I think I only know condescending people. Like for strangers, I think they come off as being condescending, right? When they're, ho, 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 ho. And where are you from? And where are you doing? And where are you going? And where are you been? To kind of like belittle you to keep, they don't, I don't know if they know that people do that when they talk to you like a child, that in their voice and their tone and all that, that they're really subconsciously programmed to do that because they think of you as a child, right? They don't think of you as an adult. So, children raised in this way frequently do not notice, even at an advanced age, when someone is taking advantage of them, as long as the person uses a friendly tone of voice. That's crazy. You have to fucking really conceptualize that. You can be taken advantage of simply by someone just using a friendly tone of voice. Someone pretending to be your friend. You'll overlook past all of the bullcrap, okay? Because of the simple fact of child rearing and child raising, basically. Parents did not give children. I'm just jumping to the end of the book. I haven't even, I just, this is the introduction. I haven't even gotten to the first chapter yet. I'm just going to have foresight a little bit. So, by ways of, parents automatically beating their children, it depletes them of having the ability to self criticize, to have the ability to think. Children raised in this way frequently do not notice, even at an advanced age, when someone is taking advantage of them, as long as the person uses a friendly tone or voice. Ain't that some bullshit? Think about that, though, like really, just based on early childhood development stage. A motherfucker needs to be talking to you woo woo woo, and you 60 or 70 and still not able to look past the veil because your parents obviously didn't give you a chance to think critically. If you did something wrong, you didn't understand the actions of it. You just got your ass beat, right? You didn't have the options to think about your situation and how it can reflect yourself in the society. So therefore, you go on throughout life being used as a doormat. Okay, what else are they saying here, y'all? Because I don't. What y'all talking about? What y'all talking about? Psychological James, hey, Anthony, hey. What? I was raised with psychological threats of being sent to orphanage. A lot of hitting. Yeah, some parents just don't need to have kids. Period. I think I hear it every day. I swear to God. This is why I know why this book is coming to me. People just really don't need to have kids. Period. 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 Okay. But, you're here now. We're here now. We can write our own rights. People just don't need to have motherfucking kids. You know what I'm saying? That's what's up. You forgave all that. That is cool because, all that just makes you really heavy in life, moving throughout life, feeling so much heaviness by carrying around so much, you know, baggage and shit. I mean, I'm telling you, and I majority know a lot of people who are over 60 who are still dealing with their insight of their early childhood development. It is really quite fucked up. And the most that they can do is give you medicine It's the turn off the chatter from the childhood that continues to follow you, that baggage that continue to follow you. I mean, how has healthcare evolved or mental health evolved? It really hasn't. So let's read a little bit more what they're saying about the violence of child rearing, basically. I don't know what she's about to say, but let's see. I have often been asked why I prefer mostly to mothers and so seldom to fathers in Prison of Childhood, which is another book, The Drama of the Gifted Child, which I have on hold at the library. Oh my God. I designate the most important caregiver in the child's first year of life as the mother. This does not necessarily have to be the biological mother or even a woman. In Prisoners of Childhood, I took pains to point out that looks expressing disapproval and rejection that are directed at the infant can contribute to the development of severe disturbances. I gotta get that motherfucking book. I have to get that book tomorrow. I think they're holding it until tomorrow. She says, in Prisoners of Childhood, I took pains to point out, she says, pains to point out. This is no easy research or observation for people to get this written down for us to learn and grow from, right? Especially when you're dealing with children. Like, some real fucked up shit out there that's going on, right? Okay. So in Prisoners of Childhood, I took pains to point out that looks expressing disapproval and rejection that are directed at the infant can contribute to the development of severe disturbances, including perversions and compulsion, neurosis, in the adult. So, just based on how we look at our infants, the energy, the essence that we have, that we embody in ourselves, is pressed upon through the vision of our eyes when we look at our children. So they are intuitively reading our expressions on our face. Not only that, they intuitively can feel what's going on with us as parents, right? The children, the infant, they can't talk, they can cry, but they're, when their eyes can stay open long enough to see, right? Or have the muscle capacity to stay open long enough to see, that's all they are doing, watching and observing. That's all they need to do, is to watch and observe to feel comfort or safety. So this is new information for me, that looks expressing disapproval and rejection that are directed at the infant can contribute to the development of severe disturbances, including perversions and compulsion neurosis in the adult. Ain't that crazy? No. How do they quantify that? That's interesting. That's very interesting. That's very interesting. I think so, by like with the child's behavior ongoing in the process of it, developing, right? You can tell by, if a child's been abandoned, its behavior, right? Especially when it's around other adults, right? What is its expressions? What is its behaviors, right? So I'm thinking that's where they're gathering their information from. Yeah, that is kind of actually interesting because it is generationally, Mr. James. Yeah, I hear these stories every day. Of course, it's in part of my family, both sides. Some people talk about it, some people don't. But like the strangers that I meet through work, it is all trauma, all trauma. When they talk about their childhood, it's fucked up. One woman talk about her mom, and obviously it happened to her mom. It's a continual cycle. It's a continual cycle, and I think it is really sad in a way, because most of the times these cycles are unconscious behaviors. that we are projecting upon on our children. Because if we were really aware and we knew of the cruelty that we're passing on, right, we wouldn't be having kids because it's already cruel out here in a way. So for you to pass on that gene, so called, it's like a 50% chance that that gene will activate. It's a very guaranteed chance because these genes out here in the general population are kind of crazy. So we're adding on to more craziness. It's like the bottom line is crazy. Sorry, I have a little bit of headache. I have a little bit of headache. Sometimes you gotta laugh, not cry. So, yeah, great, great. Oh my God. Yeah, I probably shouldn't. I ain't gonna talk about that. But those who be like offing themselves, oh my God, it's really fucked up. It's really crazy. Really. Did somebody mention bipolar? Yes. Bipolar. All I know is just from experience. It's from watching, from observing it. Man, has that been a diagnosis over the last 20 years? It makes me wonder, like, why it took them so long, I guess, to have so much data to collect on what bipolar is. Because, I'm sorry, I'm getting off track. I just want to be respectful for anyone who's experiencing any mental health issues. Okay, that's why I'm just going to continue to read this. Because she has some other important parts in this introduction that I read the other day that I wanted to talk about. Mm, mm, mm. So this is For Your Own Good by Alice Miller. Hidden cruelty and child rearing and the roots of violence. In the Schreiber family, it was not the mother who controlled her two infant sons with glances. Infant sons? How? Why? I think probably at this time period in 1858, infant was a different calculation of like age. They have to be talking about like toddlers or something. They can't be talking about infants. Infants. This is crazy. What? In the Schreiber family, it was not the mother who controlled her two infant sons with glances. It was the father. Both sons later suffered from medical illness accompanied by delusions of persecution. Bitch, let me go back and rewind. Hold on. I took pains to point out that looks expressing disapproval and rejection that are directed at the infant can contribute to the development of severe disturbances, including perversions and compulsion neurosis. Compulsion neurosis in the adult. In the Schreiber family, which I was telling y'all before, who's a friend of Sigmund Freud, right, the father of psychology. In the Schreiber family, it was not the mother who controlled her two infant sons with glances. Weird. It was the father. Both sons later suffered from mental illness accompanied by delusions of persecution. Are you fucking kidding me? Are you shitting me? Okay, I'm sorry. I'm just thinking from like my own family too, because like lightning flash, bolt. Did y'all catch that? Both sons later suffered from mental illness accompanied by delusions of persecution. Delusions of persecutions. Fucking delusion of persecutions. All by a glance. By a disapproving glance. They're saying as an infant, I'm thinking that they're talking about older because of the time period. Because you know how in society they like to change shit whenever they want to. hmm So I'm thinking they're talking about like toddler stages, but they're saying that their two sons, just based on their early childhood development, receiving um, um, threatening glances led to delusions of persecution in their adulthood. You talking about me? Somebody's talking about me. Somebody's listening to me. Somebody's watching me. Oh, people are out to get me. Just by a motherfucking glance. This is the energy surrounding the person based on what little I just read, because I got a flash. Like I said, there's no mistake for this book to fall in my hands. And baby, when I saw it, because somebody gave it to me, I was like, wait a minute, what is it? Knowing damn well I'm reading 4 books right for class, but I don't give a fuck. This is way more interesting. So, so it was given to me. Yeah, anyway, forgot what I was going to say. What was I going to say? So, yeah, based on glances and looks, they suffer from mental health issues in their adult um, life, right? Based on the negative glances that they receive in their infancy stages from their father, because their father was doing the discipline. It's like, how can you discipline an infant? I don't know. An infant, what do they do? Cry? What do they do? Want some food, some attention, entertain? How and when or where do you get to disciplining infants or even toddlers? All right, let me move on. I don't know why I got a headache. It's right here. Right here. Oh okay. In the last decades, however, there has been an increasing number of fathers who have assumed positive maternal functions that have been able to give their child tenderness and warmth and to emphasize with his or her needs. In contrast to the era of the patriarchal family, oh, I wasn't ready for that. We now find ourselves in a phase of healthy experimentation with sex roles. And this being the case, I have difficulty speaking about the social roles of the father or mother without resorting to outdated normative categories. Okay. I can only state that every small child needs an empathetic and not a controlling human being, whether it be father or mother as caregiver. So, why does you think that we need to control every aspect and behavior of our children? Who gave you the right to have control? They're going to grow up and do whatever the fuck they want to do anyway. Power and Control was a statue made and created by elitists. So the whole sense of controlling and reigning over your child lets the child know that they are lesser, that they are a lesser being because they are a child. They don't know no better. Well, obviously, the parent don't know any better either if the only result is to hit a child. I laugh because how stupid to hit a fucking child. It's about that big. Hmm. An enormous amount can be done to a child in the first 2 years. He or she can be molded, dominated, taught good habits, scolded, and punished without any repercussions for the person raising the child and without the child taking revenge. An enormous amount can be done to a child Allergies are in the first 2 years. He or she can be molded in the first 2 years, dominated in the first 2 years, taught good habits in the first 2 years, scolded in the first 2 years. This is, with the brain of the young, tender, nourishing, still developing brain is observing, right? He or she could be molded, dominated, taught good habits, scolded, and punished without any repercussions for the person raising the child and without the child taking revenge. Hold on, it's probably gonna fall. So basically, these elitists, right, who's controlling society, who's controlling every outfit, is telling you how to raise your children, right, to have power and control over your children, and they basically say who's gonna do anything about it. You can corporally punish your child, and nobody's gonna do anything about it, including the child. The child's not gonna do anything about it. It says without any repercussions for the person raising the child and without the child taking revenge from getting their ass beat or, giving receiving disapproval looks from their parents. A child is not going to fight back. Some of them do, though. I have seen toddlers and I have seen teenagers who will fight their parents back. Okay. Excuse me, my allergies. I have, and there is no judgment because I can fully conceptualize that all now that I'm older. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Anyhow, every situation is different. But for what I've seen from teenagers, because I was a teenager, is that, the parents rule and control their child as a teenager, and that's their most time of finding their true freedom, right? The rites of passage kind of stage. So the most parents try to do is try to fight their teenager for keeping them from being an adult. You're gonna beat up your kids since they came in after curfew. You gonna beat them up. That's crazy. The child will overcome the serious consequences of the injustice. Let's see. I think my mom used to lock the door, but even that's really cruel. She used to be like, "Okay, if you're not home at a certain time, Dad too, we gonna lock the door." Bitch, I just didn't come home. I was like, "Oh, it's 11 o'clock. Oh, guess I ain't going home." The child will overcome the serious consequences of the injustice he has suffered only if he succeeds in defending himself. Didn't I just talk about that? That's only the natural right, you know, is for a full human being is to defend themselves no matter the age. If all forms of nature have the ability to defend themselves, will you fucking guarantee that a child is figuring out an operation of how they're not going to be abused any longer, depending on the level and the situation, the stage of abuse, and and the period of time, right? The child will overcome the serious consequences of the injustice he has suffered only if he succeeds in defending himself. Example, if he is allowed to express his pain and anger, so if he is allowed to express his pain and anger, right? If he is prevented from reacting in his own way because the parents cannot tolerate his reactions, crying, sadness, rage, and forbid them by means of looks or other pedagogical. I really need to look up that word. Methods, then the child will learn to be silent. Did y'all catch that? If a child is not able to express his full emotions of anger and rage by displeasing glances and gestures, while a child is naturally acting out its emotions, and eventually the child will go and fall silent. Its voice will be taken away. Stop that crying. I'm going to give you something to cry about. Right? Aren't you a big boy? Act like a big boy. Aren't you a big girl? Stop crying and act like a big girl. Mm, mm. Aren't you a big boy? Big boys don't cry. Boys don't cry. You see the social programming of stripping your voice, and your brain is not even fully developed. Anyway, I don't know who I'm talking to. I feel like I've done this before, and I feel like I've done this before. I feel like I've done this before wholeheartedly. This whole thing right here. Okay. Um, so the child can act out and express their emotions in their own way, then they will lose their voice. Imagine a child who loses their voice. How do they act in society with no voice? Hmm? Hmm. Nothing to say in class. Nothing. I don't know. Nothing to say in class, or you know, socially conflicted. They don't know what to say. They don't know how to respond. They don't know how to act. Some people are doing things to them. They don't know how to respond. They don't know how to act. They don't know how to speak up for themselves because they weren't allowed to utilize their voice. Mm. Okay. This silence is a sign of the effectiveness. Where's my phone? Let me look up this fucking word. Hey y'all, hi y'all, hi y'all, hey y'all. I was gonna do a voodoo tarot reading, but my head really hurts. I don't think I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna just read a little bit of this with y'all, and I might do a reading tomorrow. But let me see what this is. Where did it go? Pedagogical. Pedagogical. I don't know. Hold on one second. Like everything over here. Oh my god, it's so funny though too, because I'm getting a feeling on Friday on this side, and I feel like whenever I go to the dental office, like it be triggering stuff early. But I already had my wisdom teeth removed just recently, so I don't know why I got this going on right here. Okay. I'm gonna look up this word because I feel like they're gonna be using it a lot of times, right? Let me see if I can ask Google on here. Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. It's either like pollen or something. How do you pronounce it? Pedagogical? Where in the hell did it go? I don't even have my pencil over here. It's over there, and I don't feel like reaching for Pedagogy. What is the definition of pedagogical? Oh, you're not going to say it out loud? Oh, you mother. Okay, Google. What is the definition of pedagogical?
The term pedagogical is an adjective that relates to pedagogy, which is the method and practice of teaching. It concerns all aspects of education, from the development of lesson plans and teaching approaches to the way a classroom.
Why would they use this old term for the process of teaching? Pedagogical. Who is using pedagogical in 2025? So pedagogical is a form of teaching, especially in education, right? Okay, so let's go back a sentence. If he is prevented from reacting in his own way because the parents cannot tolerate his reactions, which is crying, sadness, and rage, and forbid them by means of looks or pedagogical methods, then the child will learn to be silent. This silence is a sign of the effectiveness of the pedagogical principles applied, but at the same time, it is a danger signal pointing to future pathological developments. This is so good. This is so good. This silence is a sign of the effectiveness of the pedagogical principles applied, but at the same time, it is a danger signal pointing to future pathological development. If there is absolutely no possibility of reacting appropriately to hurt, humiliation, and coercion, then these experiences cannot be integrated into the personality. Oh, 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 it hurts. So much information and knowledge just hurts. It hurts. Some information you eat for food and it's like, and some of it you eat and it's like, it kind of hurts. Like this. Yo, is an effectiveness of the pedagogical principle applied, but at the same time, it is a danger signal pointing to future pathological development. If there is absolutely no possibility of reacting appropriately to hurt, humiliation, and coercion, then these experiences cannot be integrated into the personality. The feelings they evoked are repressed and the need to articulate them remains unsatisfied without any hope of being fulfilled. So, what's the main one? Emotion. That is what's suppressed a lot, especially in this nature of patriarchy when men are supposed to be men, they're not supposed to cry, they're not supposed to show their full extent of emotion. That's a female thing, or it's a bitch thing. Quit acting like a hoe, quit acting like a little girl, right? So men really got it fucked up, they really got it hard. Okay. Okay, operating out here. So the majority, including my brothers, including my dad, including my uncles, were not allowed to express or even experience it, their emotions when it comes to having feelings. And this society predicates that that is actually okay. I don't want no man who's you soft. You know what I'm saying? And men that are considered soft are those who are really great communicators. communicators, right? Those who are able to communicate really well, honestly. Okay. They're able to communicate about experiences. They meaning they've developed internally to talk about their experiences. But in this society, men are not allowed to cry or experience any emotion um, anger. Besides anger, right? And the woman's not supposed to like have any emotion besides nurturing, besides like a compassion nurturing. Okay. So, um, so where does that leave us here today? The generations of people, individuals who don't have the ability to express their emotions. We're going to get to that. I'm not going to have foresight, right? But we're going to get to that because our emotions are what ties us together, or what connects us together, or what builds relationships. And if we don't have access to connectivity and relationships, then the opposite of that is power, control, and violence. But we're going to see just a little bit here. I don't know how many people are here. I don't know if anybody's here, but it's okay. I'm going to leave this live up and I'm going to continue to talk. If you're still here, thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up. I was going to do a reading. I might do a reading. I don't know. I don't know. Let's continue to read because I feel like we should continue to read this. There's a lot of, like, Yemaya has been very formidable for the last couple of weeks. Okay. Shit. Gotta take a drink. Okay, let me charge this. It's not even charged. Shit. I think this one is gonna charge that. Let me throw this in. 1 second. No momento. Yes, baby. The best thing to waking up is information in your cup. The best part of waking up is information in your cup. All right. Okay, so here we go. The feeling they evoked are repressed, and the need to articulate them remains unsatisfied without any hope of being fulfilled. It is this lack of hope of ever being able to express repressed traumata. Now you can tell she's a true professional in psychology because I don't study psychology for the simple reason of Sigmund Freud, but this is her field, so she's using all those psychology terminologies. Okay. It is this lack of hope of ever being able to express repressed traumata by means of relevant feelings that most often causes severe psychological problems. We already know that neuroses are a result of repression, not of events themselves. I shall try to demonstrate that neuroses are not the only tragic consequences of repression. Neurosis? Are we talking about the liver? I don't know. I'm not quite sure what she's talking about. Neurosis. Where did she write this book? Okay, Google. What is the definition of neurosis? She wrote this in 1984.
The term neurosis is a historically used term in psychology and psychiatry to describe a range of mental disorders characterized
Oh,
by anxiety, fear, worry, sadness, and other distressing emotional symptoms. Unlike psychosis, individuals experiencing neurosis maintain a relatively intact sense of reality. While the term neurosis is no longer a formal diagnostic category
I
in
didn't
major
think so.
psychiatric manuals like the DSM, Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, its legacy persists in how we understand certain mental health conditions, particularly.
Yeah, no wonder, no wonder, because she wrote this in 1984. So they've taken this out of the diagnostic test or the diagnostic book. I feel for y'all who have to study that book. Anyway, so it's a range of mental health issues like anxiety and worry and probably fear. They're all formulated as neurosis, but they no longer have neurosis as a form of like diagnosis for mental health. But psychosis is still being operated, but neurosis isn't. Psychosis is, neurosis neurosis isn't, which is interesting. Okay, so we already know that neurosis are a result of repression. Okay, and we can see this today in people why there's so much anxiety, there's so much worry, there's so much fear. Okay, because it's a result of repression, repressed feelings, not having access to your voice. Not of events themselves. I shall try to demonstrate the neuroses are not only tragic consequences of repression, because this process does not begin in adulthood, but in the very first days of life as a result of the efforts of often well-meaning parents. That's why I was saying they a lot of times are not aware. In later life, the individual cannot get to the roots of this repression without help. It is as though someone has had stamped on his back a mark that will never be able to see without a mirror. Mm. One of the functions of psychotherapy is to provide the mirror, and there it is. There it is. This is why this book was given to me. This is why this book was given to me. Because how often do we talk about the reflections of the mirror? I'm gonna read that again. I don't understand why my whole fucking jaw hurts. We already know that no, okay, because of this process does not begin in adulthood, but in the very first days of life as a result of the efforts of often well-meaning parents. In later life, the individual cannot get to the roots of this repression without help. It is as though someone has had stamped on his back a mark that he will never be able to see without a mirror. One of the functions of psychotherapy is to provide the mirror, and that's why a lot of people don't believe in therapy. Oh, I don't believe in that. I don't believe in that. Y'all believe in that? I don't believe in that. I don't believe in going and sitting down and talk to what they gonna do for me. Nah, they give you the mirror and is what you're gonna do for you. Oh, I don't believe in that. Y'all believe in those doctors. Y'all believe in those wild people. Y'all believe anything those wild people say. Knowing damn where we're in 2025, there is so much array of different backgrounds of people who are offering therapy, but I don't do nothing like that because we are afraid to face the mirror image of ourselves. It is true that psychoanalysis is still a privilege of the few facts, and its therapeutic achievements are often questioned. But having witnessed in case after case of forces that are set free when the results of child rearing are counteracted, Having seen how these forces would otherwise have to be mobilized on all fronts to destroy vital spontaneity in oneself and in others, because this quality has been regarded as bad and threatening from an early age. I want to communicate to society something of what I have learned in the analytic process. Society has a right to know, to the extent that this is at all possible. What actually takes place is the analytic setting for what comes to light. There is not only the private affair of a few ill or disturbed people, it concerns us all. That is true facts. Because if one thing or instance or circumstances can happen to one person or a group of person, I don't need to read. All I have to do is just be living here long enough to observe that it will happen to another individual and a whole other group of person. It does not just affect one person, anything. I don't give a fuck what it is. One person starving, we're all starving in some kind of way. So, when is the introduction? Like, when's the chapter? I'm still in the introduction. This is one thing about these psycho wonderful professionals. They will talk to you forever about so much beautiful information. I mean, they have words for fucking eons. And why would they not? Because you learn so much education about this. It's like you can talk about one thing forever. So let's get into it. We'll read another page and I'm gonna let y'all go because I know it's like early in the morning. We'll probably do one card. Breeding Grounds of Hatred, okay, is the title. Breeding Grounds of Hatred, Guides to Child Rearing from 2 centuries. I'll read it fast. For a long time, I asked myself how I could go about giving a vivid and not purely intellectual portrayal of what is done to many children in their earliest days and the consequences this has for society. Ashe, ashe. How could I best tell others? I often wonder what it is people have discovered concerning the beginning of their life after having gone through a lengthy and laborious process of reconstruction. Child. Mm-mm-mm. In addition to the difficulty involved in presenting this material, there is the old dilemma. On the one hand, there is my pledge of professional secrecy. On the other, my conviction that principles are at work here that ought not to remain the special knowledge of a few insiders. Okay. Furthermore, I am aware of the resistance on the part of the reader who has not been in the analysis of the feelings of the guilt feelings that arise when cruel treatment is discussed and the way to mourning still remains blocked. Interesting. When then should be done with this sad fund of knowledge? Girl, please, she's reading my fucking mind for real. I was just saying that. All this information and knowledge that has to be solidified, put to this most minuscule, small, orbital, cellular format continuously over and over again, especially when it comes with raising children. Because, I mean, have you looked around? And I mean, look within. Have you looked around within yourself? We are so used to perceiving everything we hear in terms of moralizing rules and regulations that sometimes even pure information may be interpreted as a reproach and thus cannot be absorbed at all. We justifiably resist new extortions if moral demands were frequently imposed upon us at too young an age. Love of one's neighbor, altruism, willingness to sacrifice. How splendid these words sound, and yet what cruelty can lie hidden in them simply because they are forced upon a child at a time when the prerequisites for altruism cannot possibly be present. Introduce altruism to a child that cannot be. Now you know why Jesus was 33, why he started. I mean, he maybe had started out younger in ages, but now you really know why it took him a certain age and a period, right? Okay. It says altruism cannot possibly be present. Interesting. Coercion, coercion, to be coerced often nips the development of these prerequisites in the bud, and what then remains is a lifelong condition of strain. This is like soil too hard for anything to grow in, and the only hope at all of forcibly producing the love demanded of one as a child lies in the upbringing giving one's own children, from whom one then demands love in the same merciless fashion. Reciprocal love. We're receiving reciprocal love. Oh man, not you crying again. Oh my god, you crying again. Oh my god, I gotta feed you again. Oh, I gotta change you again. We're not talking about that. Those are those who are not ready for this work. For this reason, it is my intention to refrain from all moralizing. Did she already talk about this? Because she's talking about moralizing because she's understand how these morals are a social concept as well. That's why she keeps talking about it. All these morals, these values that the majority of the population are following today have been written and prescribed and subscribed to you intentionally for power and control. Because aren't you born with moral values? Don't you know how to treat people? You mean tell me you needed these people to write something down for you to follow, to be a human being? If that's the case, then they wrote down so many other morals and values that your ass is following. You don't even are aware of it. Anyway, we're not. That's I definitely do not want to say someone ought or ought not to do this or that. Oh my fucking gosh. For example, ought not to hate, for I consider maxims of this sort to be useless. Rather, I see it as my task to expose the roots of hatred, which only a few people seem to recognize, and to search for the explanation of why there are so few of these people. I think I'm in love with a goddamn book right now. I was giving serious thought to these questions when I came upon Katharina Ruchewski Schwartz. She's like Swedish or something. Black pedagogy. Oh, that's interesting. Well, that's a black person. I was giving serious thoughts to the questions when I came upon Katharina Ruchewski Schwartz, which is Black Pedagogy, which is like Black education, basically. A collection of excerpts from books on child rearing published in Germany in 1977. These texts describe all the techniques which I refer to in this book as poisonous pedagogy, that are used to condition a child at an early age not to become aware of what is really being done to him or her. Whew. They offer clear corroboration on a concrete level of the conjectural reconstructions I have arrived at in the long course of my analytic work, obviously, as long as hell, I can already tell. This gave me the idea of juxtaposing certain passages from the excellent but very lengthy book so that with their help, readers can aware wait can answer for themselves in their own personal terms the following questions I shall be raising. How were our parents brought up? First question. How were our parents brought up? Now, this is general um, self critical thinking, right? That we are very much aware of early in life. How was our parents brought up? Okay. So, what's the second one? How were they permitted, even forced to treat us? So, how were, so the first question was, how were our parents brought up? How were they brought up? Under what societal view and moral value that was projected at that time in that generation? That's why we're all marked by generations: baby boomers, X's, millennials, Generation Z. This is why we are marked by generations, because they all follow societal moral values and rules and policies, right? That all predicates our behavior in the future and our behavior today are the morals and the values that are instructed to give to us to live by, right? So, how were our parents brought up? How were they permitted, forced to treat us? So, underneath policy and laws, how were they advised to raising children, your parents? What the motherfucking state tell you? How did the state tell you to raise your fucking children? What did the state say? What did the city say? What did the township say about raising your children, right? Very important. We always think about the generation effects, okay, through ancestry. But what about the policies and the laws that took place as well that help usher in most of these behaviors that we're going to talk about too, right? Okay, let's go. How were they permitted, even forced to treat us? How could we, as young children, have become aware of this? So, when we were aware, were we able to self um, criticalize? Were we able to think critically about those two questions that was just previously asked? Were we able to conceptualize that, the environment as a child? How could we have true? Okay. Can this vicious circle ever be broken? That is so crazy. Can this vicious circle ever be broken? Crazy. Because still to this day, people are like, you don't have any kids? Oh my God, you don't have any kids? And my first and thought always have been, even I had foresight then, was I looked at my environment and I did not. And I was not going to mirror it. Okay. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. Fuck your kids. No, I'm just saying. In general, why things are so synchronicity right now, because I even wrote a memoir about that very moment and situation where I took time, was like slowing down time processing of everything that was going on in my life right now at a very young age, and conceptualizing it and looking around and saying that I'm not going to mimic my environment. And can this vicious circle ever be broken? Okay. And finally, is our guilt any less if we shut our eyes in the situation, which is what we all do? Practice avoidance. How can we not? How can we byface the mirror? How can we kind of look at the mirror from our peripheral but not have it face us continually, right? So she's asking us a lot of different questions on just the conceptualizing our lives, and conceptualizing is what she's saying the foundation of child rearing. Not only is it predicated by generations of ancestry, but it's also laws and statutes and those morals and values that are attached to it plays a larger role, I think, more than the parents in child rearing, more than the parents, because those laws, statutes, and moral values always changes. 10, 5 years, they always change. So parents are always bending backwards, trying to, bend over for society, right? Literally bending over for society. Okay, okay. So, it may be, I think there's only other, we're almost done. It may be that I am trying to attain something with these texts that either is not possible at all or completely superfluous. For as long as you are not allowed to see something, you have no choice but to overlook it, yep, to misunderstand it, to protect yourself against it in one way or another. But if you have already perceived it for yourself, then you don't need me to tell you about it. Although this observation is correct, I still do not want to give up the attempt, for it strikes me as worthwhile. Okay, was that a lawyer phrase? Even though at the moment only a few readers may profit from these excerpts, and that is so true facts. That's a whole key thing about writing. Like, who's really going to follow through on the work? Are you just reading the work just to read it, or are you really applying it? There's a difference. I believe the quotations I have chosen. Anyway, that's it. She's going to continue explaining about her process of collecting data. I don't want to read it. I'm sorry, I don't. Not at this time. I'll probably come back like in 5 years and read it. But I really want to get to the chapters. I really want to get to the meat of the subject here. I really can't wait till she starts kind of like talking about the patients and their mental illness based on early childhood development. Cannot wait to get to that. Obedience appears to be the undisputed supreme principle of religious education as well. The word appears again and again in the Psalms and always in connection with the danger of loss of love. Anyway, so she's about to get into it. Every factor. So yeah, there we go. This book came right after my Shining book went missing. I was telling y'all before, I was reading The Shining by Stephen King, and I was right in the smack of the middle, and I was going to town like, ooh, I can't wait. You know what I'm saying? To really read it, because Stephen King is like, in his descriptions, he's very descriptive in all his descriptions. So I was halfway through reading The Shining book, and then it came up missing. It's gone. I don't know where the hell happened to it. So I went online. You can get it for free, but it's not the fucking same. It's not the same. And then 2 days after that book went missing, someone gave me this one. So there it is. And the crazy thing is that The Shining is now on HBO. It's now on Max. So you mean to tell me? I was talking about it for when I had the book, right? I was talking about The Shining. Maybe to y'all or some people. I don't know. I'm always talking to y'all, somebody, I don't know. So sometimes I'll be forgetting. But I know I was talking about everybody who was want to listen. I'm like, I don't know if there was some kind of segue to The Shining. Oh, I'm going to talk about the book. And did you know? And did you know? And did you know? And did you know? But yeah, anyway, I was halfway through it. I could not wait to get to it. But whatever. It's not meant for me to read The Shining right now. But now it's on Max. It's on HBO Max. All of a sudden. Now you can watch it and stream it all of a sudden. Before, it's like when I was reading the book, when I typed in The Shining, where can I watch? Not available. Not fucking available. Soon as I lose the book, available. You think I'm gonna go watch that half-ass movie with Jack Nicholson in it, talking about what did he say? Here's Johnny or something? No, because the book is so much better. Oh my god, so good. But anyway, spirit guides, ancestors, higher source does not want me to get and tap into the frequencies of Stephen King right now. All right, so this on top of my other books in my classes. My other classes are based on weight diversity, so it has nothing to do with anything about child rearing. Has everything to do with including fatness into everything. Okay. So I'll come back on here and read this tomorrow a little bit more if it's not too boring. My bad. I'm still gonna read it anyway. I'm still gonna read it. We're gonna read it together. Because she has another book I want to read. I think that was her first book. Anyway, I'm going to read the other book after that. Hitler's mother. That's why I know I've done this before. Because I never read about Hitler. Somewhere I received some message about Hitler. Maybe I did read it somewhere, but not really, because I can't pinpoint the book about his early childhood development. Hitler, right? I think I'm getting him mixed up with somebody else. I think because I thought that Hitler, no, I don't think so. Okay, I think that was somebody else. Um, okay. Anyway, then who the fuck was that? Whose parents, both of them, went into a psychiatric hospital? I don't know if it was Hitler or it was somebody else. One or the two, like both of his parents, their parents were both in a psychiatric hospital. Anywho, so this says Hitler's mother. Interesting. I'm interested in the mother and the father, you know. Always am when it comes to um, psychopathic behavior. You have to often wonder, well, what were the parents like? What was their environment? What were the policies and moral values that was stationed on them, that was rained down on them for them to act this way, be this way, be this way, act this way? In the rain clouds, pollution, act this way, be this way, act this way, be this way. Rain clouds, pollution. Act this way, be this way. Oh, oh, now we have power lines outside. Oh, you mean we can turn up the system even more? Act this way, be this way, act this way, be this way, act this way, be this way. Rain clouds, disturbances, clutter, pollution, 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 pollution. Act this way, be this way, act this way. Should we read a little bit about Hitler's mother? Hitler's mother, her position in the family, and maybe we won't go linear. I feel like, sorry, I know that was an ugly cough. I feel like in this book, it's not going to be a linear process. She has some interesting subjects. You know, some of these professionals, like their linear process is so boring. Their writing, linear, is boring. That's why I like fiction and nonfiction because their stories be more braided. So we're going to read this as a braided informational kind of thing. Anyway, so Hitler's mother, her position in the family, and her role. My phone's about to die. Um, and her role in Adolf's lives. All the biographies agree that Clara Hitler loved her son very much and spoiled him. It must be stated at the outset that this view is a contradiction in terms if we take love to mean that the mother is open and sensitive to her child's true needs. You see how the teacher is always the mother? They didn't never say father, it's always mother. Being a teacher. It said, it must be stated at the outset that this view is a contradiction in terms if we take love to mean that the mother is open and sensitive to her child's true needs. True needs. Now, hold this bottle over here while I go do this. Here, can't you hold your own bottle? Can't you hold your bottle by now? Can't you do this by now? Can't... No patience. Mm-hmm. So this is precisely what is lacking if a child is spoiled. Now, how would she know that? That the mother will not have any ability to um, cater to her child's needs if he's spoiled. That's interesting. Okay, I can see that because it's like if they're spoiled, they already were born, they already have everything, they already have the clothes, they already have the money, they already have, you know, their trust, their college fund, they already have everything. So if a child is crying, it's like, what the fuck are you crying for? Don't you have everything? I've given you everything. Why are you still crying? Interesting. Versus a mother who doesn't have everything yet, maybe not have that college tuition all the way. It's like, oh, you're crying. Well, let me see what's going on. Let's see what's wrong. You're, oh, okay. Oh, you're okay, you know, or you're not okay. It's not like probably from a spoiled child's family where it's like, you have everything. Why are you still complaining? I don't know. Let's see if that's what she meant. This is precisely what is lacking if a child is spoiled. Example, if his every wish is granted and he is showered with things, he does not need all this simply as erots. I don't know what that is. ERSATZ. Ersatz. All this simply as ersatz for that which parents are unable to give their child because of their own problems, because of their own problems, because of their own problems, because of their own problems. They cannot fulfill their child's needs. How many people you know like that? So many. So many. Let me go buy this piece of crack over here, but I got this baby over here. Let me go get this beer over here, okay? Although, I got this baby over here crying. Let me go fulfill my needs first. And fuck those kids. Oh, I'm so tired. I'm gonna take a nap. Can't you be quiet? So, mm-hmm. Therefore, if a child is spoiled, this points to a serious deficiency, which is then confirmed in later life. If Hitler had really been loved as a child, he would also have been capable of love. But see, what is the definition of love? Well, obviously, he wasn't portraying it. No one knows the definition of love. Just think of Adolf Hitler in the opposite of his expression. If nobody knows the definition of love, think of Abraham Lincoln and George Washington and the opposite of their expression. The, not Frederick Douglass, all those, founding fathers. Think of the opposite of their expression of love because their expression of love is savagery, genocide, war, and rape. So think of the opposite of those people. So we want to bulk Adolf Hitler, George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, Abraham Lincoln in the same category. Ashe? Fuck y'all think I'm playing with him. If Hitler had really been loved as a child, if Fred, if Benjamin Franklin, let me stop. Okay. If Hitler had really been loved as a child, he would also have been capable of love. His relationships with women, his perversions, and his whole aloof and basically cold relationships with people in general reveal that he never received love from any quarter. She said quarter. She said quarter. She didn't say person. She said quarter. 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 She's signifying money. Quarter. Who's on a quarter? Is it Thomas Jefferson? Who the fuck's on? I forget who's on a quarter. One of those presidents. Y'all can look it up. It says, in general, reveal that he never received love from any quarter just for how he treat other people. Duh. Duh. He moved through the force of hate. Abraham Lincoln moved through the force of hate. Because y'all only know the funny, the fuzzy, the beautiful, the pink, fluffy stuff about the founding fathers. Y'all only know the fluffy, the fluffies of the fluffies. But go ahead and ask those people that land about those presidents if they have some kind of thoughts and words. Is my southern accent about to come out for some reason? I don't know why. But ask those indigenous people of those land what they think about a Benjamin Franklin, honey. It would be synonymous with Adolf Hitler. Okay, let's go. So it says his relationships with women, his perversions, and his whole aloof and basically cold relationships with people in general reveal that he never received love from any quarter, from any sector, from any area. He didn't even receive love from the money that they stole and murdered and killed people over. Okay. Before Adolf was born, Clara, which is his mother, had three children, all of whom died of dysphoria within a month of one another. That's all right because they didn't live that long back then. That was crazy. That they would go through that whole process. I don't know why they want me to be so fucking vulgar. Okay. These women go through these whole process of grape. They didn't have anything for pain for having these kids, and then the fuck they end up dying within a month or two, or sometimes less. So it was just totally fucked for women all the way around. Sorry, am I getting off? I think I am. So basically, his mom had three other kids that died from whatever this disease were. The first two were perhaps already ill when the third child was born, who then died when he was only 3 days old. 13 months later, Adolf, 13 months later, really? 13 months later. Adolf was born. I reproduced here Sterling's very useful chart. What the fuck is. Hold on 1 second. I like swear I have my phone on this charge and it's not charging. 1 second. Yeah, so 3%. Although it's on the charger, so I know they're trying to crash out. I had another thought before that, but anyway. So this book I really like so far. We're about to get into all like the psychopathic nature of these psychotic individuals out here. So she's talking a little bit about the outline of Adolf Hitler, right? And his mother Clara. Clara. I have dinner order coming up, so I don't care. Anyway, so yeah. Oh, like if my phone dies, you know why. So it says the Predified legend depicts Clara, which is Adolf Hitler's mother, as a loving mother who, after the death of her first three children, showered all her affection on Adolf. It is probably no accident that all the biographers who paint this lovely Madonna like portrait are men. A candid contemporary woman who is herself a mother will perhaps have a somewhat more realistic picture of the events preceding Adolf's birth and a more accurate one of the sort of emotional atmosphere surrounding his first year of life, so crucial for a child's sense of security. So we know that they were filthy fucking rich. How else would he have access to all the resources to do what he did for a long period of time? I'm pretty sure he paid off some people so they can look the other way and be the fuck quiet. So just know if you don't know, Adolf Hitler came from an elite hood. So his mother, when she was 16, she moves into the home of her uncle, where she is to take care of his sick wife and two children. So at 16, his mom had to take care of two children and a sick wife. So at 16, his mom was a servant infinitely. Didn't have her own kids, but she had access to money and resources. They're not broke. They had a lot of money. They were born with a silver spoon, but yet still she had to be into servitude. There was no place for women besides servitude in this social networking kind of thing that started, Mm, mm. Anyway, there she is later made pregnant by the master of the house, even before his wife is dead. And when she is 24, bitch, we're talking about Adolf Hitler's mom. Didn't I just say she went to go be a servant? They talked about her getting pregnant by her master. There she is later made pregnant by the master. Oh, not her master, but the master of the house. Whatever. I bet she couldn't do shit. So it was her master too. Made pregnant by the master of the house even before his wife is dead. Before his wife died. Why the wife gotta die first? Before the wife died, this young lady is pregnant. And when she is 24, the 48-year-old Alawis marries her. So the master of the house name is Alawis. He marries her, whatever, when he's 48 and she's 24. 24-year difference. Within a period of 2.5 years, she gives birth to 3 children and loses all 3 in the space of 4 or 5 weeks. That's fucking disastrous. Who wants that life? Where all those kids go? Gustav comes down with dysphoria in November. Clara can scarcely take care of him because she is about to give birth to her third child. Third child name was Otto, who probably catches the disease from Gustav and dies after 3 days. So this baby wasn't even 1 yet, and she's pregnant and by having another baby. The fuck? I don't know how these women did this. Are you fucking kidding me? Mm-mm. Soon after, before Christmas, Gustav dies, and 3 weeks later, the second child, Ida, as well. Thus, within a period of 4 to 5 weeks, Clara has lived through the birth of 1 child and the death of 3. A woman need not be especially sensitive for such a shock to make her lose her equilibrium, especially if, like Clara, she is confronted with a domineering and demanding husband while still practically an adolescent. Perhaps perhaps as a practicing Catholic, so they were Catholic. Hmm. She regarded these 3 deaths as punishment for her adulterous relations with Alois. It's not like she had a motherfucking choice. She can't even say that she had a choice. She was a young child. She had no choice or option. Okay, but I was already thinking about those 3 deaths too with those kids, like 3 in a short period of time. But just know that, kids back then really didn't, children, infants really didn't survive or live long in 1858. I mean, not in Europeanism land, respectively. Hmm. Okay. Let us try to imagine what actually happened. The first child, Gustav, comes down with dysphoria in November. Clara can scarcely take care of him because she is about to give birth to her third child, Otto, who probably catches the disease from Gustav and dies after 3 days. Soon after, before Christmas, Gustav dies, and 3 weeks later, the second child, Ida, as well. Thus, within a period of 4 to 5 weeks, Clara has lived through the birth of 1 child and the death of 3. A woman need not be especially sensitive for such a shock to make her lose her equilibrium. Why is she writing like that? Especially if, like Clara, she is confronted with domineering and demanding husband while still practically an adolescent. Perhaps as a practicing, I don't understand why these people just don't conceptualize this whole thing about women needing to be free. Mm, mm, mm. Ciao. In any case, a woman would have to be made of stone to remain untouched by these blows of fate. And Clara was not made of stone, but no one could help her to experience her grief. Her marital duties towards Alois continued, and in the same year as her daughter Ida's death, Clara became pregnant once again. In April of the following year, she gave birth to Adolf. It was because she could not deal adequately with her grief under these circumstances that the birth of a new child must have reactivated her recent shock. Did she even have time to sit down? That's how they want you to. Pregnant, servant, servant, pregnant. Okay. Because she could not deal adequately with her grief under the circumstances that the birth of a new child must have reactivated her recent shock, mobilizing her deepest fears and a feeling of great insecurity regarding her ability as a mother. What women with these experiences behind her would not have been fearful during her new pregnancy. Oh, I'm sorry. What women with these experiences behind her would not have been fearful during her new pregnancy of a repetition of the past? It is scarcely conceivable that her son, in his early period of symbiosis with his mother, imbibed feeling of peace, contentment, and security along with her milk dove. It is more likely that his mother's anxiety, the fresh memories of her three dead children, reactivated by Adolph's birth, and the conscious or unconscious fear that the child would die to were all communicated directly to her baby as if the mother and child were one body. And that's what we were saying earlier on in the book when we were talking about the expressions that the parents give to the infant child and how it predicates its behavior continuously up until adulthood on how it perceives itself and external voices, right? Based on the agreement of the child, the agreement of the parents, like, I accept you as being my child, or the disagreement of the child, the parents says, I don't accept you, right? All from a glance of an infant child, okay, can predict the behavior, the treatment of the child, the love. We were saying the connection, the vibration, the aura, the feeling, the emotion that is our, what surrounds us that you can't see, but we can feel on the inside of us, okay? The baby, the infant is connected to those emotions, right? So basically, this author is saying that based upon Adolf Hitler's mother um, um, grieving from very short periods of time, giving birth to three children, right? And they all end up passing away. But not only that, she's an adolescent having intercourse with an old fart, basically, because this man is 49 in like 1858. He's basically like 200. Okay, her being an adolescent, yeah, they might have thought of age a lot more differently. But yet, and still, if that's the case, then why keep women in servitude infinitely? Why don't we take women out of servitude, right? You know, anyway, I don't know if that made any sense. Because if a guy can be old and that's fine, but a woman is young, right? Okay, where's her value? Okay, in between her legs. Okay, that seems super nefarious because the little girl has no chance. She has no options of having agreement with herself, an agreement on external factors. People are predicating laws and moral values on this young girl and this woman, and she does not stand a chance. She does not stand a chance. So her only option was to submit. What the fuck was she gonna do? She was gonna die on the street. I don't give a fuck how much money she had, honey. You okay? Anyway, where was I? I'm about to go. So basically, yeah, that is it. The instances is what she's getting to here, which we'll get back into another day or a couple hours, whatever, is that connection of her loss of her other children is probably what enlightened this crazy snitch or switch or the psychological imbalance within Adolf Hitler, right? Because if he's feeding from his mother's breast, he's receiving all of those hormonal factors, right, that play within our emotions. He's receiving that as nutrition in his own body. That's help building his cells. That's help building his brain at the same time. So I don't know. She could be right. 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 All right, y'all, leave this live up and I'll see y'all in a couple hours. Let me see. Do we want to? Let's see. Oh, um, mhm. It was also, of course, impossible for Clara to experience her anger towards her self centered husband who left her to her anguish. All the more than did her baby, who, after all, did not have to be feared like her domineering husband, come to feel the force of these negative emotions. At this is destiny. All this is destiny. Her environment. What do they call it earlier? The combination of worry, anxiety, and fear, aka neurosis. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm just like getting so many different channels. There's like just so many different women who just suffer over time. Okay. Hmm. Mm. Mm-hmm. But this is not about women, but she's taking it as women being the first teachers, though. This is why she started off with Adolf Hitler's mother, right? Because as you can see here, the mother, even after she had those kids, the master of the home still did not want to be bothered with her. So that's just yet and say that he only wanted the one thing, and was this access to her youth. That was it. Access to her youth. Nothing more, nothing less. Access to her youthfulness. That was it. I know y'all saw a lot of Disney movies. I know I didn't, but I know that there's a Disney movie out there where beauty is and youth is like bottled up in a jar, some kind of fucking way. Hmm. I wonder why. Is it magic in the youth of beauty of a young woman? Or is it all ages of young women? I think it's all ages. But in this society, they will say it in young women so they can have access to her youthfulness, so they could drain her early in life, drain her early in life. I promise you. I see a lot of women who look like death, but their men, they look refreshed. Okay, I'll see y'all later. Bye.